Welcome to the Testimonial Tuesday at Pet Club 24/7. It's an honor for me to be here tonight with Kristen Ludlow, someone who's been here for 8 years, and she's amazing. She's a big reason that we came here, she and her husband Kurt, and they are the most amazing support that I've ever seen in the industry. And her knowledge is unparalleled. And after being here for 8 years, it's awesome. But I'll just give a kind of a brief background of what I saw when I saw the Coriolus Versicolor. We'd worked with that in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, and I knew the depth of what it was capable of. And it's very foundational for good health. In fact, the ancients, who were really intuitive and good at kind of zeroing in on what worked and what didn't work. We were just talking about in traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians, and how did they ever figure out the meridian flows and what organs it related to, what muscles it related to, what emotions, what seasons, what time of the year, all of those kinds of things. And it's almost like you'd think it's hocus pocus, because how is that possible? But it's been proving itself over and over and over again for thousands of years. And so now there's no argument that stands up against it, because it works. And those intuitive, initial, very brilliant people, they saw it. They saw these things, but they also saw the value of Coriolus versicolor mushroom, and they used it. And they used it to promote well-being. And again, back to traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, and even Western allopathic medicine, it's all about, and in that case, they call it, the standard of care relates to all of that. But in traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine, it's about creating the balance that the body is really good at. The human body is amazing. Any mammalian body is amazing at restoring its wellness by creating that balance. It adapts, it compensates, and it has to, because we live in a world with all kinds of challenges that hit us from every angle. There are over 80,000 approved chemicals that are used that we encounter on a daily basis. They're found in our air, food, and water. They're used in our building materials. They're used in our clothing and our personal care items. They're used in our furnishings. They're used in our swimming pools. They're used everywhere. So we encounter them on a daily basis. There's no avoiding it. And our body has to adapt to these kinds of things, these kinds of assaults. It has to compensate for it and keep itself balanced and keep itself functioning. So it stresses it. So that's how the ancients evolved their systems of medicine, was around assisting and supporting the body's ability to do that. And Coriolus versicolor was integral to that. The ancient Egyptians knew that you would live a longer, stronger life if you used Coriolus versicolor mushroom. The Asian people that actually incorporated it into their pharmacopoeia all throughout Asia in different kinds of formulas knew that people had their chi was stronger, their energy was stronger, their life force, everything was stronger. They lived longer. They were happier. All of these things because of using the Coriolus versicolor mushroom. Why? It supports this amazing miracle that we are. It supports gut function. It supports liver function. This isn't just me saying it. These are literally thousands of different studies out in the marketplace of the various compounds involved in the makeup of Coriolus versicolor that support these organ systems, the brain, the nervous system, and the immune system was highly recognized as being supported by the Coriolus versicolor mushroom. So when I saw this, I was all over it. And I happened to be dealing with a very strange lung infection at the time, and it was hitting me hard. So I knew it was something my immune system didn't recognize. And I was getting a little afraid. So I started tapping into this InForce product. And at the same time, I had, in fact, Kristen sent me initially some product. that included product for our dog that we were talking about putting down. And it had been going on for quite a long time. For the past 3 years, he was failing. And for the past year, especially so. So my wife, with so much compassion, was saying, you really need to let him go. You really need to put him down. And I was resistant, but I was coming around to it because, yeah, I could tell he was at the end of his life. And literally watched him restore himself over the next couple of months. So I knew we had something amazing, and we jumped into it and jumped all over it. So I want to bring on Kristen Ludlow to tell her story a little bit about her story, because it's amazing. And she's been here for 8 years. She's seen so many things. And when I was looking into this, I was hearing some of her stories, and it was just mind-boggling. And it seemed like I was hearing results that exceeded even what I knew from past experience. And so that's what got me excited. So Kristen, I really, really do appreciate you and your husband, Kurt. Again, I'll add what I said at the top of the call, just amazing support and amazing knowledge on what we have. And you've experienced it over and over and over again. So thank you for being here on this call. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And, this whole community right here, Dr. Jerry, you and your team, we're just blown away by your hearts, your compassion, all that you do to serve people and serve others, always putting others' needs before your own. It just shows you what type of people we're attracting to what we're doing, because this truly is a part of the restoration of creation. That's what we're all participating in. And you said it best. Feeding the body what it needs to do what it was supposed to do anyway, right? What it was intelligently designed to do anyway. All the millions of little miracles that the body is capable of doing on its own is a miracle in and of itself. So thank you so much for having me on. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Ludlow. And like Dr. Jerry said, I was introduced to this, to what was happening with this particular strain of mushroom about 8 years ago, when a friend, Gino Ferrari, reached out to us and had told us of his friend Simon Liu, whose mother several years before had a very severe condition in her lung, and she was being seen by Sloan Kettering, and they were told there was nothing more that they could do, that she just needed to get her affairs in order. And her son Simon started reaching out to friends and family members, letting them know that they had exhausted all their options, and that it was time to make sure that they had a chance to say goodbye. And his cousin, who's a physician in Japan, actually reached out and said, hey, I know she's dealing with this. I'm going to send you over these capsules. It's this specific strain of a mushroom called the Coriolus Versicolor mushroom. And we use a particular strain, and we extract it a particular way. And what it's doing is it can help her own body. By feeding her own body, her own immune system might be able to resolve or repair, rebalance what's happening inside of her body. And so we sent over these capsules to her, and she started taking them. And within a month, she was feeling better. Within 2 months, she was feeling pretty close to normal. 4 months later, she goes back for a follow-up with Sloan Kettering, who was surprised to see her because they had only given her a few weeks, not even months. They had given her a few weeks, and they ran some tests, and sure enough, there was no bad cells. They couldn't find any evidence of anything anymore. And they had asked her what she did different. And she told them, well, my nephew from Japan sent me these mushroom capsules, and I've been taking those. So they actually sent this mushroom strain to Sloan Kettering. And that's where the first study started in the United States, the first published study on what this Coriolus versicolor mushroom can do when it's extracted this way in the mycelial phase. And so as time went on, after that happened with his mother, several friends, family members, when they were dealing with anything, I mean, small things like allergies or colds or viruses, all the way up to those more serious health concerns, and they would hear about them, they would recommend these mushroom capsules, because these mushroom capsules supported the immune system. And when Sloan Kettering and all of these other reputable organizations that started studying this mushroom, as these researchers were doing, were documenting their findings, they were noticing that because it's just a food, it's no different from eating a mushroom on a salad. It wasn't interacting with any medications or treatments. People weren't getting addicted. They weren't overdosing. They weren't finding any side effects. So the research just kept growing and growing and growing because they were blown away by what this mushroom was doing to feed the immune system, and then what someone's own immune system was capable of doing. So as more studies came out and more people that they knew that were dealing with these different challenges, they just kept recommending this mushroom capsule, and they kept getting all of these reports back, just similar to Dr. Jerry's and Simon's mother, and just over and over and over again. So after a while, they said, it's taking a long time for it to come from Japan. Can we have control of this mushroom? Can we bring this strain to the United States and process it and manufacture it here so that we can get it to people faster? Because in many of the cases, people only had a limited amount of time. So every minute mattered, every day mattered. And so they agreed to that and gave the exclusive rights to them, and they brought it over to the United States. They were offering it for people for several years. They were getting back just the most incredible reports from all different types of things. And one day when they were sitting in their boardroom, a gentleman walked in, and he was telling them that he had been dealing with ulcerative colitis, and he came to their office to thank them because he started taking the mushroom capsules. It modulated his immune system, and his own body was able to rebalance and recover from the ulcerative colitis that he was dealing with. And at that point, they realized, oh my goodness, we really need to start getting the word out. But they were unable to post those types of testimonials on their website because of the concerns about health claims, because it really isn't a cure for anything. It doesn't cure, it doesn't prevent, it doesn't mitigate, it doesn't treat anything. It's truly just a food that feeds the immune system, and then their own immune system was going in and doing all of these things. And so this gentleman actually started his own website, mushroomstudies.co, where they could link to several of the published studies that have been done, many of them published in the National Library of Medicine, just so you know how comprehensive these studies were. And also, people could start posting and sharing their experiences with these InForce capsules and how their bodies were reacting to them. And it just really took off from there. But in 2017, Gino unfortunately lost his dog to cancer, and then Steve Youngblood, his partner, lost his dog to cancer, and two of Steve's daughters lost their dogs to cancer, all in the same year. And they were sitting in the boardroom again, just feeling really upset about what was happening, and they started to take a look into it because they thought this can't be a coincidence. Their daughter's dog was only 4 years old. Steve's dog was only 11. So these four dogs ranged in age from 4 to 11. And they thought there's got to be something going on. It can't be a coincidence this is happening so much. And they found that 65% of our pets are getting cancers. 1 out of 3 of our pets are developing allergies. There's 6 million new cases of diabetes in our pets every single year in the United States. They're getting arthritis, chronic pain, autoimmune diseases, having seizures, just all different types of things that our pets were struggling with. And the gentleman that started the mushroomstudies.co website came into their office while they were talking about what was happening and discovering that most of it stemmed from the foods and treats and toys that we're buying from the stores and how toxic that is for pets. He came in to share with them that his wife had also been dealing with an issue and started taking the InForce capsules, and that issue had resolved as well. And they just had an aha moment, and they thought, I wonder if this mushroom is safe for animals, because not all mushrooms are safe for animals. So they did some studies, they looked up some studies, they found specifically a clinical study that was done by the University of Pennsylvania that found that dogs with a very aggressive form of cancer, hemangiosarcoma, that were given the Coriolus Versicolor mushroom lived 2 to 3 times longer than the dogs that were not given the mushroom. And they just felt this calling on their heart and said, you know what? We need to start giving this to animals. Not only is it safe for them, but this is beneficial for them. Look what these studies are finding. And that's how the company Pet Club 24/7 started, was in response to all of these issues that we've been dealing with our pets, and saying, hey, we have a solution. We have a mushroom that can help feed their own immune system. Let's get this mushroom into their bodies and see what their own bodies can do. So they added it into dog biscuits called the mush puppies, and they made like a handmade gravy called the special sauce, and horse cakes called the mush ponies, which is what we sent to Dr. Jerry because his dog's a little bit larger, needed some extra help. So we gave him some mush ponies. And oh my goodness, what we started finding was amazing. As a matter of fact, 3 days after we got these mush puppies, our friends posted on social media that they had to say goodbye to their dog Zenta, who was dealing with a very bad autoimmune disease. She was almost 15 years old, and the average husky lives to be about 12. So she had lived a long, full life, but her paw pads were peeling off, her hair was coming out in clumps, her eyes were cloudy, and she was going blind. She was in so much pain, they couldn't even pet her or touch her without her whimpering. They'd have to like gently pick her up to take her outside to use the restroom and bring her back inside because she could barely walk. So of course, the vet, just like Dr. Jerry's wife in compassion, was like, it might be time to say goodbye. But they just felt that Zenta wasn't ready yet. She was still eating, and they felt like she still had some life in her. So they said, what else can we do? We're not ready to say goodbye. So of course, they gave him a couple $100 worth of narcotics and steroids, said, take her home, make her comfortable. They put her on home hospice, gave her about 2 months. And so they were posting on social media that they were sad that they were going to have to say goodbye to her. And we reached out and asked if they had heard of this mushroom, which of course they hadn't. So we said, hey, we want you to try these little biscuits. They're called mush puppies. We have no idea what they could do for her, but we've seen a lot of studies on how they modulate the immune system. And so even with her autoimmune, it can help her immune system resolve itself. And that's what the studies were finding. And so we brought over these mush puppies, and she was taking about 3-4 of them a day. And 4 days later, Kurt called us and said, what did you give my dog? We were like, why? Is everything okay? We didn't have any idea, right? And he goes, Zenta just jumped on the couch. She hasn't done this in years. And we were like, that's a good thing, right? He's like, yes, this is amazing. Do you think it's these biscuits? And we said, we don't know. You're the first person that we've given them to. Have you done anything else different? They said, no, this is the only thing we've done different. And so we said, just keep giving them to her and let's see what happens, you know? And within 30 days, her paw pads were healing. Her fur was growing back in. Her eyes were clearing up. They were able to touch her without her whimpering in pain. She was walking around on her own. And at that point, we realized how powerful her own immune system was. And they decided to take her off of all of the medications that she was on and just put her solely on these mush puppies and some of our special sauce, which is like little handmade gravy. And Zenta lived another 4.5 years. She was almost 20 years old when she was finally ready to go. But what was so amazing about that extra time was her quality of life. She was going on 5-mile hikes in the mountains. She was swimming in the lake. She was playing with the puppies. The same dog that we couldn't even pet without her whimpering, they now have video of their grandchildren rolling on her and crawling on her and cuddling with her. And they would have never had that experience with her had they not given her that immune support. And so that when we saw what happened with Zenta, I remember after that first month thinking, oh my goodness, what a fluke. Like, what are the odds that this happened on the very first dog that we gave it to? And I thought, man, if we could just do this for one more animal, like one dog or one cat or one horse, that would be amazing. Like, all of our efforts would be worth it. And we found out really quickly that that was not a fluke. That became the norm. We were seeing dog after dog, cat after cat, horse after horse. Over 90% of the time, we were getting back these positive reports of all of these differences that people were noticing in their pets, and measurable differences. We had before and after blood labs and scans and just all different types of reports. And so we realized how special this was. And we realized really what a pure and potent strain of this mushroom that we had. And like Dr. Jerry said, they have perfected the extraction process, and it is full of all of the polysaccharides and the spermidine and like all the different things that really help the body respond on a cellular level. It really helps to repair DNA. And so we got so excited about it. And even I myself had been over time getting more and more lethargic. I was getting tired. I was losing weight. I had no appetite. And I had developed a gluten intolerance, a dairy intolerance. I would shake so badly that I couldn't even write with a pen because it would be illegible. You couldn't even read it. And after several years of this, just trying to fix it on my own, like trying to figure out what it might be or why I was experiencing that, eventually I actually started having small seizures, and I would pass out, and I would have just a couple of seconds before the seizures started to know that it was going to hit, to prepare myself. And so I couldn't drive anymore because I didn't trust myself to be able to pull over in time. And I'm so grateful that Pet Club 24/7 came along when it did, because I saw the studies of how the Coriolus Versicolor mushroom, it actually helped to correct the immune system and modulate it. So even in the autoimmune response, they were finding such positive results. It was so helpful that and all of these studies were all saying the same thing. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to feel bad, I'm going to feel the best bad that I can. And I started taking these InForce capsules, truly just hoping for the best, hoping to feel a little bit better every day. I took 6 a day, 3 in the morning, right when I woke up, 3 at night, right before I went to bed. And within a couple of days, I felt my mood was elevated. I was feeling happier. Then time goes by, I'm taking less naps. My appetites start coming back. I start putting on weight. I never again had another seizure, not one, after I started taking the InForce capsules. And when I went to the doctor initially before I started taking it, when they checked my blood work, they found that the autoimmune marker was present, and my antithyroid globulin levels, which are supposed to be less than 1, were 522. That's how much inflammation I had in my body. So as I'm going through all this testing to try to figure out which autoimmune condition I had so we can manage the symptoms or manage the flare-ups, as my doctor put it, meanwhile, I'm feeling better and better and better and better. And almost 6 months later, when I went to start the endocrinology portion, I'm feeling back to normal at this point. I kind of just skip into the endocrinologist office, and he looks at me and he's like, "You don't look like you have an autoimmune condition." I was like, "I feel great." And he goes, "Well, let's take some blood. Let's see where you are." And they did some blood work, and sure enough, the autoimmune marker was gone. My antithyroid globulin levels were back below 1. My vitamin D deficiency that I've had my whole life was gone. My vitamin B deficiency that I've had was gone. He was fascinated. He said, "This doesn't even look like it's blood work from the same person." And I said, "So what does this mean?" And he goes, "Well, there's no reason to even continue doing any testing. Whatever was happening is clearly resolved itself. So, there's no more reason for us to continue." And so I remember that that night, I went and I ate a giant quesadilla because I was craving them since I couldn't have gluten for several years, and I had no reaction. And when I used to have a bite of gluten, my eyes would swell up, my feet would swell up, my stomach would cramp. I get a horrible migraine just from one bite. And I ate an entire quesadilla with no reaction. And so it was just such a liberating moment for me when I realized that my own immune system had repaired and rebalanced and regulated and restored everything that was happening inside of my body. And that's why we're so passionate about what we're doing. We're seeing this over 90% of the time in so many cases, and we're so confident. If someone comes to us and says, "Will it help with this or will it help with that specific thing?" And we say, "There's only one way to find out." Just take it. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. So we just encourage people to try it, and we're so confident that they are going to feel the difference and notice the difference as well, whether it's for themselves or for their pets. So we're very passionate about getting the word out. Like I said, this is about the restoration of creation, and we believe that we've been given a gift with this Coriolus versicolor mushroom, and we want to be good stewards of it. And we want to be a voice for those that don't have one. So we are educating people. We're getting the word out. We're sharing our stories and our experiences, and hopefully inspiring people to try something new or try something different. And because of that, we're just attracting next level people that want to be agents of good and agents of change, and that are more focused on impact over income, and they're more focused on significance over success, because that's what it's really all about. A lot of what we have in this world, we don't get to take with us when we leave it. What's more important is the lives that we're impacting, the lives that we're changing while we're here with the short amount of time that we have. And so we believe that through our work, God is doing something so special, and we can truly change the way that pets and people are being treated. That's our goal. By redirecting all this spending that's already happening anyway, and redistributing these resources and getting them into good people's hands, we can just create a huge social impact and put families and pets in more positive situations. So thank you, Dr. Jerry, for inviting me on to share my story. I really appreciate you. I'm just so thankful. We're looking for 1 million voices, and we want to just lock arms, because you rise by lifting others. And we know that the more of us that are out there being a voice of truth, speaking life, speaking hope, and inspiring others, that we can change things from the bottom up. There's so much power in community. So thank you again, Dr. Jerry, for allowing me to share, and I'll stick around too in case anybody has any questions.
I really appreciate it, Kristen. And that was powerful, and it makes me understand the success that you've had. You are changing lives. You're putting this company on the map, and 1 million voices getting behind it. That will happen. Mm-hmm. Because when you have something that actually works like this does, it's just a matter of time that the word gets around. And you mentioned the community, and you get a community all working together on something, amazing things do happen and will happen. So thank you so much. And definitely you can visit this call anytime, because it is a blessing to have you here. Thank you. Thank you. You mentioned that we're a voice for those that don't have a voice, and the pets were the reason that they started Pet Club 24/7. And you've heard me say this. I believe the pets are the canary in the coal mine. I believe that pets living about half as long as they did as recently as the 1970s is a sign of things aren't right. And we can already begin to see it with human beings. So we will be experiencing that same future of living half the life that our parents even lived, because of what we are dealing with, and it's beginning to show. Life expectancy is going backwards for the first time since they started tracking it, and disease rates are unprecedentedly high. Levels of cancers, autoimmune diseases, that you had mentioned, metabolic disorders, autism and Alzheimer's, and all kinds of neurological disorders, and all of these things are exponentially increasing, not decreasing. Even cardiovascular disease, which has been the #1 killer for so many years, is on the rise, in spite of all of the various societies and marches and everything that people have done to donate to all of these causes. It still goes up and up and up, because we're not addressing the foundational issues. What we're doing is looking for some kind of chemical approach. We're looking for some kind of approach that can be monetized, rather than actually supporting the miracle that's kept this organism alive for millennia. And not only us, but mammals. We know how to function. The body innately knows. It has an innate intelligence that's beyond anything that we can come up with in our own mind. The man can come up with the mind. So why not support this? And that's the focus. And that's what Coriolus Versicolor does. And that's why it's a great thing. And that's why it's common sense. And that's why it's going to be spread around the world. And, it's just a matter of time. But this is Testimonial Tuesday, so we do have some people that want to share. And I'll bring on, I have 3 names down here, but I'm going to start with Brian Davis. Brian, can you unmute and tell us your story? I don't see a Brian Davis in the participants. So I'm gonna, Brian, if you are there, just speak up, because it could be anyone. It could be a phone call-in line. But I'm gonna go to Johanna. Yoka, can you unmute? Are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you, Yoka.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jerry, for having me on, because I'm so happy. I
Absolutely.
feel so blessed thanks to this amazing product. And thank you so much, Kristen, for your a wonderful share. I mean, you're flawless. One of my dreams is to be able to speak flawlessly like you, so I'm taking a lot of clarity. And the first time I was on, I was feeling very shy, so I wrote out the whole script and read it. Now I've got footnotes. So if you may, some of you may recall, um, I came home from rehab, and 14 months later from hospitals and what have you, and they took my boots off, and I screamed with pain and cried, and I was in shock that the pain was so bad when I tried to walk. And I just thought, oh my God, I've got to go back to rehab. Somebody's got to teach me how to walk. And anyway, my story short, Fifi called, told me her story, told me about the mushroom. And again, I purchased the mushroom right away. And the most amazing thing was, and I'm almost in tears remembering this, was that I got up the next day, and my caregiver put my boots on, and my friend Linda, and I had no pain walking to the bathroom and back with the boots on. So, and I had energy. So we walked through the place, because I hadn't been home for 14 months, was a long time. And after dinner, I said, oh, I have to use the bathroom. So she said, you want your boots on? I said, no. Intuition told me, no, I'm going to do, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I'm going to do this barefoot. And I walked barefoot to the bathroom and back. And I was in shock. I said, my God, look at me walking barefoot, no pain, nothing. So the next day, I walked barefoot again, and I've been walking barefoot ever since. It's just a miracle. And so from that, 3 days later, my urine, I have one of those PureWicks, a wonderful new invention that hospitals use. And it's a catheter that uh, sucks up the urine into the container. And I could see that in the initial stages, it was dark brown. And now I believe the mushroom helped clear out all of this, medicine and anesthesia and whatever is in my body, because it became clear. That was amazing. Then that was another thing. I had slipped backwards because of these bad boots that I had, and that I was telling you about, and fell backwards and hit my head against the wall in the rehab. And when I came home, I noticed that I could barely turn my neck. After maybe a week or two, I suddenly noticed, oh my God, my neck could turn. It was just amazing. And then I heard someone say something about, oh, you know what? The brown spots on my face have disappeared. And oh my God, I started looking in the mirror. Who wouldn't if you're a man or a woman? But anyway, I looked at no brown spots and no brown spots on my hands. And then the amazing bowel movements. I have to tell you, I used to be addicted to, what do you call it? Um, uh, to help.
Laxity.
Yeah. And also to sleep at night. Now I am absolutely normal. I sleep like a baby. I'm hungry. And the other thing I'm noticing is I walk with a walker. I'm not able to walk without yet. And I say yet. And also that I'm noticing my balance is getting better and better. and I know it's the mushrooms. And then I have to say one more sweet share. I adopted a cat. I'm an animal lover. I adopted a cat who's 18 years old. Her name is Molly. She was going to be put to sleep because they could only keep her for a month, and that's the end of it. And I said, "Oh God, I'll take her. I'll take her. She's in great health. She's lying beside me right now." And the only thing is, what's so funny is she loves to sleep on my chest, right under my chin. And well, when she first arrived, she sneezed and sneezed. And there I'm like, oh my God, I can't have that in my face. So I ordered immediately the sauce because I noticed that the dry food does not have mushroom in it. Is that right, Dr. Jerry?
Kristen's the local expert on that. Kristen?
Right. The kibble does not. The freeze dried does, but the kibble does not.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping because that's all she eats is kibble. So I got sneaky. I mix a little bit of kibble. I put the sauce on a little bit at a time, so every day a little more, and forced her to eat it because it's right on the bed next to me, which is my office, and watch her. And it's going in. It's going in. And I'm grateful because no more sneezing. It's gone. It's all gone. And I think that's all I have to share other than clarity. Oh, I know. This is for Dr. Jerry. I have issues with my ears. I can't hear. And I don't know if it's because when I banged my head, it affected my neck, which I told you now I can turn. But I'm wondering if it caused my hearing. I feel like I'm underwater, like a heavy, heavy pressure, and I can't even I can hear myself talk, but not like I used to. So I was just wondering, do you think that I can't leave this place? I'm crippled. I can't leave unless I get a lift or something. And I was wondering if it's a chiropractic thing or if the mushrooms can actually help me with my hearing.
Well, we could talk off this call a little more thoroughly about it, but could be an inflammation in the inner ear, something going on there. Could be the drainage isn't happening, so it's backing some of the inflammation up. So that could be manually addressed. But yeah, we could talk about it more at a later time. But yeah,
Okay.
I want to comment though, you are much brighter than the last time you were on. You have a glow about you. Yeah,
I'm very happy.
I can tell. No, it's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for being here and telling your story. Very
And thanks everybody who participates. It's one happy family for sure.
awesome. Indeed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Yoka. We have Shelley Grimes also wanted to share a story, and we'll kind of remind Brian Davis if you can unmute.
He's back on, Jerry.
Oh, okay.
He just needs to unmute.
Okay. Well, we'll take Brian first since I called on him originally. Thank you for seeing that.
I just asked him to unmute, but he's not unmuting.
Well, go ahead, Shelley, and then we'll come back to Brian.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's about 90 degrees here. It's very hot. I'm sitting outside.
Oh, wow.
That's hot for the Seattle area.
It definitely
I can relate to her story, and I know I've given my testimonial several times, but about her feet. I probably for 5 years really, really struggled with pain in my feet. And I would get up in the morning. I know I've shared this before. I would dread putting my feet down on the floor because it was so painful. And it would get better, but it wasn't good. And I got to the point, there were certain shoes that I couldn't, and I kept thinking it was the fault of my shoes. So I would put shoes away, then I'd wear some other shoes, but I figured out that it wasn't my shoes, it was my feet. So when I started using the mushroom, and it didn't happen overnight, and I've been using the products now for about 5 months, but I would say within probably 3 to 4 weeks, I noticed a significant difference when I would get out of bed and, put my feet down on the floor. And I was thinking about that again this morning because I do professional pet care. over here on Whidbey Island. I stay at a lot of different homes with a lot of different pets. But, you know, I used to get out of bed and I would just drag. Yeah, because I do a lot of overnight care. And I got out of bed this morning. I thought about it like after the fact when I was in the kitchen making my coffee. And I thought, I am so grateful I do not have this this pain anymore, which really impedes the work I do, and it just impedes your quality of life. So that's pretty much a non-issue at this point, and I'm very grateful for that. But the other thing I wanted to share was, and I think I may have shared this before too, that, you know, I'm pretty good about going into the dentist and getting my teeth cleaned and whatnot. But this last time I went in, they did the thing where they measure your gums. And she had the results from the one I had done like 6 months ago. And after we were done, she said, I want you to look at the comparison between last time and this time. And there was significant improvement in my gum health. And the only thing I've done differently is using the mushroom. So I was really happy about that. But, you know, it's the little things. It just keeps getting better and better. I'm so grateful to be in my 70s and have the energy I have and have the mobility I have to be able to do what I want to do, to work with pets every day and just enjoy my life. Because I look at a lot of people my age, Dr. Jerry, that are in their 70s that they can hardly move. So I'm just very grateful for what we have here.
Thank you, Shelley. And I'm really glad we have some background. By the way.
You're the culprit. You eating up all the.
Whoever is speaking, you're on an open line.
I just looked it up on Google, and if Brian wants to unmute, he just has to hit *6 on his phone.
Oh, okay.
I've done that. Can you hear me now?
We can. Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, thank goodness. I've been here all the time. I couldn't get my phone to unmute to begin with. Anyway, I've got to tell you my story because to me, it's so exciting what's happened to me.
Awesome.
The last 3 years, I haven't been able to put my right arm above my head, and I could get it to the wall. I had to walk my fingers up the wall or have someone help me put my hand above my head. I've been a wrestling coach for 45 years. Not good for you trying to work with kids in wrestling. I'm 74 years old, but I still love the sport. Anyway, I have the last couple of years, I haven't been able to hardly do anything other than talk to kids. But I was supposed to go in and have both of my shoulders need to be replaced, they said, because I don't have any cartilage in my shoulders. And so anyway, I said, okay, the pain is so great, go ahead and do it. So they sent me home with all the soap and stuff that they thought that I was supposed to have. And I went ahead and I went in the day before I'm supposed to go into surgery. And he says, have you been washing yourself? I said, yeah, I've been doing it, scrubbing myself really good with the soap you gave me. And he says, well, what about the iodine solution? I go, what iodine solution? And they go, well, you're supposed to come over. I said, I don't have an iodine solution. I didn't get it. And they go, I said, I don't have it. So I said, and they says, well, we can't do the operation. I said, I don't care. I said, the pain I'm in, I'll take the chance. I said, go ahead. And I don't care. And they said, no, we will not do it. And so I went home and I'm going, my golly, how long am I going to have to suffer like this? Because they said, we'll get you in as soon as we can. I go ahead and I go home and I'm going, man, and that was on a Tuesday. On Thursday, I go to our friend Sherry, and she's looking at me and she says, Brian, I said, I didn't have the operation. And she says, I've got something I want you to try. If you try it, will you try it? And I said, at this point in time, I'll try anything. So she gave me the Coriolus Versicolor. I weigh 150 pounds, about 153, and I take 3 capsules a day. I was on the pills on the 4th day. On the 4th day, I put my hand above my head, my right hand above my head for the first time in 3 years.
Wow.
And my wife, I said, you see that? She says, oh, you got your hand up over your head. And I said, I know, I did it. I didn't have to walk it up the wall. It worked. And I'm going, I can't believe this. And she says, I called Sherry and I told her, she says, well, that's fantastic. And anyway, my other arm, I could get it up, but it wasn't hurting anymore.
Wow.
But I still had pain in my right arm, but it's only on the fourth day.
Wow.
It took me 2 weeks, and they called me back and it says, we want you to come in because we got your scheduled for surgery tomorrow. I says, I don't need to come in. I said, I'm good. And they go, what do you mean? I says, just that. I says, I work fine. Well, the doctor has to see you. He wants to see you. So I go in the next day to his office, and he looks at me, and he says, what do you mean? You don't think you have to have the surgery? And I took my arms and I threw them above my head, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I says, you tell me. And he says, what in the world happened? I said, it was a gift from God. I can't explain it any other way. And that's the way that I look at this product. It was a gift from God for me. I see it. I tell everybody that I see, and I see someone in pain, I say, this is where I was. And a lot of people knew me. I've been known in the community. I lived here for 50 years in this valley.
Wow.
And they knew the troubles I was having. But I want you to know that this has changed my life again. I mean, I got hit by a drunk driver when I was 22 years old. I had to have 7 vertebrae fused. They told me I'd never walk past 35. I'm 74 and I'm still walking. But I don't give up, because that's what happens to most people. They tell them something and they go, that's the doctor told me, so that's where I am. You don't have to have that. This product changed my life again. And my life's changed so many times, but this product changed my life again. And I can't begin to describe how thankful I am for this, for what it did for me. And I tell everybody that I see in pain, we start talking, and that's where I'm at. I just thank you.
Thank you, Brian. You know, if you've been in that valley for 50 years and people know how you were suffering, and now you're freeing yourself from that, you'll have everyone in that valley taking a version of InForce, and that's an awesome thing. What a great story. And thank you.
It was on the. I want to tell you, on the 3rd week, I went into church because everybody in church, was going to do that. I said, I want everybody here to look at me. And they're looking at me kind of funny. I said, look at me. I want to show you a miracle.
That's amazing.
And finally, I get everybody looking at me, and I put both hands above my head. I take them down and put them up and take them down. And they're all going, I said, you know that I couldn't do that. One of the other members is a coach that was coach. You haven't seen me rub my arm above my head for over 3 years. I got them both now.
Wow.
So thank you.
What a great story. Wow. I'm super impressed. And that's I have to say on top of that this product doesn't treat or cure, it doesn't mitigate disease, but what it does, and it does it very well, is it supports the organism. It supports us, this human body, and it supports animal bodies. And that's the miracle. Life is the miracle. It's amazing when you give it what it needs, what it can do. And this is just a good example of that. So thank you so much, Brian. And it was good for when Shelley.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so awesome. When Shelley mentioned that her things didn't happen overnight, and she still, many months later, notices things. So there's all different sides of this going on tonight. So folks, this is something that it is just a common sense thing to include in your lifestyle and to share with others that you know and you care about, to include in their lifestyle. We hear things like, just today, I saw a report from China that the virus, the chikungunya virus from mosquitoes, is getting bad over there. So that's going to be hitting here as well. That's the way it always happens, and they promote a lot of fear around these things, and then they'll be pushing vaccines and that sort of thing. But the most powerful weapon you can have is your very own immune system. Your own innate intelligence knows what to do. We just need to support that. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here. We went a little long tonight, but it was well worth it. Kristen was amazing as always. Brian it just was the coup de grace. He just capped it like, whoa. And Yoka, always great, but just shining, and you can just see the difference in her. And Shelley, thank you so much again, because you continue to just notice these things. And it's just so many great stories are developing, and that's what this is all about. So that comes from the heart. These stories come from the heart. And when you speak with the people that you care about, you love from your heart, they'll listen. And most people are hit by too many things in their head day in and day out from every different venue and every different media. But when you actually get a communication from someone in their heart because of something great that's happening, it strikes on a whole different level, and that's what you have. So thank you, everyone, for devoting this time. I know you could have been out doing anything. It's summertime, and you spent a good 50 some odd minutes with us tonight. And you gave us your energy and your time, and that's just a fantastic gift. We appreciate and love you, and God bless you all. We'll see you again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Shelley.
Night,
Guys, awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks,
night.
Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.